Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for July 24th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 27 live feeds. It was day 16 in the house, and it was the final day before the eviction tonight. We had more conversations about the vote and some drama happening. Lots of happenings, lots of maneuverings, of course, as we move toward the next week, as we discuss sort of where the house wants to go and who wants to be aligned with who and all of that stuff. So we're gonna get to it. I am here on my own today, and so I will tell a story. I will tell a story today about the feeds yesterday. And I'll set the scene, and then we'll run through the day. We'll do it. We'll come off of the like player by player thing. We're gonna go chronologically through the day because that's always fun as well. So of course, Jimmy, the HOH, has nominated Adrian, Amy, and Will for eviction. He wants Adrian out, but a lot of people don't want Adrian out. In particular, Zach really hoping that Adrian will stay. Keanu really hoping that Adrian will stay. A lot of people from different sides of the house all hoping Adrian stays because primarily they want Amy gone, because Amy's connected to Rachel and Amy doesn't have very good relationships with anybody else. They find her kind of annoying sometimes, so on and so forth. In addition to that, Adrian has so far done a fairly decent job of campaigning to people on the idea of, hey, I can win comps for you. I am on your side, potentially. And also, I hate liars. Now, we've been talking about this plenty at the start of the campaigning week, at least. There should have been enough pressure to make sure that Amy stayed over Adrian if the pressure persisted. However, Mickey backed off and decided that she would prefer that Adrian stay over Amy. Despite all of that, Will was still looking like he would stay against anyone, and that was also primarily due to Mickey's pushing. But with Mickey not on board, the whole thing crumbles. And despite Morgan's efforts, the vote for Amy versus Adrian has fallen pretty dramatically onto the side of Adrian staying. That's where we start the day. Now, we knew this, but there are plenty of people in the house that don't. And we'll talk about some of those people throughout the day. In addition to that, Mickey and Morgan were hoping to build a new alliance. They had initially been kicking Jimmy out of this alliance because of their frustration with his nominations. This alliance primarily includes themselves, Ashley, and Ava and Will, and then on sort of the outside would be like Rachel and Zach and Vince, something along those lines. But Zach and Vince, they don't really like Ashley because they've been hearing that Ashley is pairing them together and talking about how Vince is going to win the game and all of that. That's all the setup. That's where we're coming into today. So we start the day with Rachel and Jimmy, who are talking. Rachel and Jimmy have been sort of rebonding, I would say. After the initial frustration of what Jimmy was doing with his nominations, Jimmy has been with Rachel trying to get Adrian out. And because of that, it has bonded them back together a bit. They're kind of like talking about her attempted weight loss throughout the day. Part of the reason why Rachel voluntarily became a have-not for the second week in a row is that she's been trying to lose some weight. She's been exercising, doing some cardio. And so that's kind of a big topic of conversation between her and Jimmy. Has been for a while, is going to be one throughout the day today. And that's part of their bonding too, as they are going to be talking about the shirt again. And they are agreeing early in the morning it's not looking great for Amy. That they don't think the votes are there to keep Amy. And this is frustrating for both of them, obviously. Jimmy says he regrets thinking that he had the votes when he made these nominations. Remember that when Jimmy was talking about his renominations, he kept going on and on about, I've got 10 votes. I've got 10 votes. And he's like, I didn't take my own advice. Of course, people were going to tell me what I wanted to hear. Like, I should have known. I should have known. And Rachel's like, yeah, I was trying to tell you. He's like, I know. So that's kind of the state of their relationship at the moment. Rachel does talk about being concerned that Adrian will put her up. And this is because when she talks to Adrian and asks him who he's going to target, he tells her, I'm going to target Keanu. And she says, well, who else are you putting up? And he says, I don't know. And so she says, if he says, I don't know, what he means is me. And then when I say, who's the renom? He says, I don't know, which means me. Jimmy says, yeah, same could be true for me, but I don't know. I feel like Adrian is probably the only person in the house that doesn't lie. And Rachel says, everyone lies, Jimmy. Says, oh, yeah, maybe. I guess so. Now, this is true. Adrian has been talking about targeting Keanu. It is actually his best campaign point. This is part of the reason why some people are looking to keep him in the house, because he is anti-Keanu. A lot of people are anti-Keanu. The fact that he's capable of winning competitions is a selling point, that he's going to win comps and then target Keanu. You may ask why he's targeting Keanu. We'll actually get to that throughout the day, but it's largely because he hates liars. Rachel, when talking to Jimmy in the morning here, says she thinks that Vinny is a problem. He spends so much time with Keanu, and everyone lists him as one of their allies. Like, we need to be keeping an eye on Vince. And Jimmy agrees. He says it is sketchy how much time he spends with Keanu. So this is another sort of storyline throughout the day, this whole Vinny situation. We've been talking a lot about how he just agrees with what everyone says, and everyone, he's like trying to be in good with everyone. And that is definitely starting to spread. People are starting to catch on a little bit. Things could get a little dicey for him the following week if the wrong HOH wins. But as of right now, it's just talk. Rachel goes and talks to Lauren with Ashley and Amy in the bathroom. And this one's kind of wild. We just need to pause and reset, because this is not a normal conversation. It starts as a normal conversation, but it gets kind of wild. And then the feeds cut afterward, and people were like, what happened? So Rachel is still trying to campaign. And Lauren, by the way, who last week was doing the same thing, is going around the house saying, I just don't know who I want to vote for. Yeah, I'm not sure. And so, of course, this means that the campaigning is going to be even more sort of specific to her. They're going to really try to convince her if she really is undecided. Now, we know that she's not that undecided, because she's actually talked to Catherine about really wanting Amy out, because she has been sort of convinced by Catherine that the rest of the women suck and that they should be targeting some of those women. So Rachel approaches Lauren. Amy and Ashley are there, and she's making the pitch to keep Amy around. And Lauren says, I'm just not sure. I mean, I would love it if all the girls made it to the jury. That would be so cool. And Rachel, who kind of has an idea that both Lauren and Catherine are not exactly the most pro-women people in the house, says, well, Lauren, maybe you should talk to Catherine, because I, too, would love if all women made the jury. But I've been hearing that Catherine, doesn't like Amy. like kind of implying like I'm hearing that Catherine is not pro-woman. And I'm kind of wondering if this is true. So maybe like if you could talk to Catherine about this all women's thing, that would be cool. Lauren goes, "What? I've never heard that." And Rachel says, "Really? Well, that's the rumor. I mean, I do think that all the girls can stick together and be friends. I think that's what we should do." And Amy says, "Yeah, we really should. That would be so beautiful." And Lauren says, "Well, I mean, I guess I'll talk to Kat, but I really haven't. I've never heard her say anything about not liking Amy, which is a lie, of course. And Rachel knows it's a lie also, because Rachel says, "Well, I have heard it from multiple people. And, I did think you were up there in the room when they said that she was saying it, but, maybe you weren't." And this is when Ashley says, "What? Lauren, I wouldn't get involved in the Catherine thing." And Rachel says, "Well," and Lauren's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to." But Rachel says, "Well, if she's your friend, I would tell her." And she's like, "Well, yeah, yeah, she is my friend, so I would tell her." And Ashley says, "Well, no, I wouldn't bother because then you're in the middle. So yeah, you're in a good spot right now, Lauren." And Lauren's like, "Yeah. No, you're right. And she says, "Besides, Amy, you don't really talk to Catherine anyway, so like I don't even know why I would bother." And I don't know if I've properly conveyed the vibe, but the vibe is bad. The vibe is bad. This is like two parents who are trying to argue without the kid noticing. It's like the kid's like, "Hey, can I have some candy?" And one parent is like, "Yeah, you could totally have some candy." And then the other one's like, "Can they have some candy? I don't think that's a good idea." "What? I thought I could have some candy." "What? Why can't they have some candy?" "I just don't think that they should be having candy at this time." I mean, is it a bad time? I think it's maybe a good time. That's kind of what's happening, right? So Lauren then decides she needs to take a break. She goes to the bathroom. She goes into the stall. They are still outside of the stall in the bathroom. And that's like, hey, kid, can you go to your room for a second? Your parents need to chat for a moment. And then as soon as the kid runs off, they're like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you're undermining my authority." This is what's about to happen. So Ashley goes to the bathroom, or so Lauren goes to the bathroom. Ashley says, "Well, that was messy." And Rachel says, "I don't agree with that." "Well, I do." and Amy's like, because Amy gets involved. Amy's like, "Well, I don't." "I don't think so," says Ashley. And then Rachel says, "Hey, Ashley, how many times have you played Big Brother?" Ashley goes, "You thought you could trust the whole house the other day." "Who did?" "You." Listen, here's the thing," says Ashley. I don't get involved in the he said, she said." Ashley doesn't get involved in the he said, she said. Okay. Amy takes offense to that. Amy says, "Ashley, you're the one that told us the he said, she said." Rachel's like, "Yeah, you're the one that told us this information." Ashley's like, "What do you mean?" Amy's like, "We heard it from you. You're the one that said it." And Ashley's like, "No, well, it's not me. People have been saying it." Amy's like, "No, they haven't. On my kids. We only heard it from you." Okay. Well, I heard it. And I have not. Well, I've heard it. And I haven't. So maybe you're playing the he said, she said. Ashley says, "I'm not speaking on it anymore." And that was the end of the conversation. And then shortly after this, the feeds go down for hours. Just a long amount of time. People were like, what's happening? Did the fight start up again? As far as we know, no. They were just down. I think they napped. But the feeds are down for quite a while. And these three are so ridiculous. But when the feeds come back up, we're back at it. And Adrian is still on the campaign trail, and he's talking to the cameras. He tells the cameras, this is interesting, that he is, in fact, targeting Keanu. That is, in fact, he will put Keanu on the block. That is truth. With Keanu, despite what he told Mickey, he plans to nominate Jimmy and Morgan. Jimmy, Morgan, and Keanu, which, quite frankly, are some wild nominations. Now, I mean, wild for us, at least. Can you imagine all on the block together, Keanu, Jimmy, and Morgan? Dylan in the chat asks, does Keanu not want to keep Adrian? He does want to keep Adrian. Keanu very desperately wants to keep Adrian because Keanu thinks that Adrian is his friend and ally. But this is, of course, because Keanu is wrong about everything. So this is where Adrian falls. Now, what I will say is it is possible that by the end of the day, he might warm to Morgan based on his conversation that he's going to have with her. These nominations are not locked in, like set in stone, I would say. But I do think that Keanu and Jimmy are very likely fairly locked nominations. Morgan is the one that he may choose a different pawn. He has in the past talked about Rachel, but then he also promised he wouldn't put up Rachel. So, there's all kinds of potential other options. Wouldn't surprise me if somebody like Riley ended up on the block as well, given that Keanu's going up on the block. We know that he is not looking at Kelly. He does actually like Kelly, but we will see. We will see. So he talks to Vince about this. Vince goes and talks to Adrian, and Vince asks him who he's targeting. He explains himself a little bit more. He says, I hate liars. Hate liars. So I'm putting up Keanu because Keanu's a liar. Keanu's been lying. He lied to me. He lies to the house. Lied about a vote. He lies to people trying to cause them to not like each other. He's stirring things up. He's not a fan of Keanu. And again, this is his top selling campaign point. So Vince is like, well, who else? And he says, well, I hate liars. So it's the liars that are going up. And I did promise Jimmy I wouldn't target him, but Jimmy broke his word to me. So I have no reason to keep my word to Jimmy. So probably nominate Jimmy. And he's like, wow, okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because Vince, of course, just agrees with everything that everybody says. He doesn't really name his third nominee, but he basically lets Vince know Keanu and Jimmy. And he also gives Vince a warning as part of the way to sort of get out of answering the rest of this question as well. He says, Vince, I've been hearing that you are somebody that's going to win this game. And Vince goes, oh, that's so annoying. I hate that. It's week 2. Is Ashley the one that said that? Adrian's like, I never said the name. He's like, I can't believe her. Ashley continuing to get into some trouble. But of course, Vince already knew this information. So really the fact that Adrian's telling him is more confirmation / maybe I can trust Adrian because he's giving me information I already knew. Now, Adrian, then this I mentioned this mostly because it was a long period of time on the feeds, especially after such a long downtime. Adrian spends, it had to be at least an hour to an hour and a half teaching Catherine how to play chess. And it was just, it was just very awkward. I don't know why. I don't know why the vibes were kind of weird, but they were. But then Catherine like spent the rest of the night like playing chess against people. Like that's happening. Watch out! Watch out! Adrian's teaching chess. Uh-oh, Morgan. Rachel has a conversation with Vince. But in the process, this is sort of a funny thing. So Vince is trying to talk to Lauren. Now, if you don't know, or if it hasn't been reiterated enough, Vince has a final two with Lauren, one of his final twos. How sort of solid / real is it is maybe a question that you can ask. It's not like Lauren is telling Vince everything. It's not like Vince is telling Lauren everything. So, final two in quotes. But they do get along pretty well. And so they're trying to like have a conversation. And as they're trying to have a conversation, they keep getting interrupted. And they keep trying to find a spot to have a conversation. Initially, they're in the have-not room, and as they're trying to talk, Rachel comes in. Rachel's cleaning. So, maybe to blow off some steam from the Ashley fight, she needs to clean. But this is much later in the day, to be clear. Rachel is cleaning. She's cleaning the house. So she walks in on Vince and Lauren, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I can leave if you guys want to talk. I'm just trying to clean." And they're like, "No, we're not talking. You can totally, we're just hanging out. We're not talking at all, game. Like, just, yeah, stay here and clean, do your thing." She's like, "I promise I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to clean." And they're like, no, it's totally cool. It's totally cool. And so then they end up sort of like having, a sort of a group conversation as Rachel cleans. And then eventually like Lauren kind of leaves, and then Rachel talks to Vince, and Jimmy has suggested to Vince that he check in with Rachel because Vince has been a little concerned. Should I be worried about Rachel? I haven't really talked to her in a while. And Jimmy said, "Hey, you should talk to Rachel." So Vince takes the opportunity to talk to Rachel. And she kind of basically says like, "I know it's not looking good for Amy. I just really feel like Adrian is not somebody you want on the jury. Like, I don't think he's going to be a good juror. He's talking about being a liar, like hates liars. Like, I don't think that's a jury member that you want." And Vince is like, yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Yeah. And yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I just want to check base and make sure we're still good. And she's like, "Yeah, of course, we're still good. Still good." And so then they break up, and then Vince goes upstairs to what used to be the have-not room, the now like boxing gym area, in order to talk to Lauren, to have a private conversation with Lauren, because he kept getting interrupted. Right? It wasn't just Rachel. So they go up and they're like, "Haha, okay, now we're alone." And Vince is like, "Yeah, I'm up in the gym in my jeans right now. Let's have a conversation." And it like takes a little while for them to start talking, because Vince is trying to figure out how to adjust the seat of the bike. He's like, "Who sat on this thing? It's like up." And so then he finally gets settled. They finally start talking when Rachel walks in with the Swiffer. "Oh, sorry guys, I came in to clean. Did you want to talk?" They're like, "Oh, no, you totally cool. You come in and clean. We weren't talking at all." For those confused, the have-not room is where the side bedroom normally is this year. Upstairs, where the have-not room used to be, at least the last couple of years, is the boxing gym. So like kind of out of the way. Like you go to that room to either work out or perhaps have a private conversation. So the fact that Vince and Lauren were previously in a bedroom and like, oh, we're not talking, and then you interrupted, and then you immediately then find them both upstairs in that room, clearly not working out. It's like, oh, they are definitely trying to have a private conversation and they're pretending not to. And it was very funny. It was very funny. And Rachel too was like very much like she didn't call this out because people are like, oh, she's doing the Andy Herron. She didn't say I'm not trying to do the Andy Herron, but she very much was like, I promise you, I'm just trying to clean. I'm not trying to be like interrupting and stuff. I'm not trying to like check in on rooms. I genuinely think she was just trying to clean. I mean, I'm sure it's, you could always call it part strategy, but very much funny situation. And they do eventually start talking, although they then get interrupted by like Keanu at some point. And I think Vince is like, it's just like we can't talk. Everyone keeps interrupting us. So all this is going down, and Zach starts talking to Catherine in the HOH room about keeping Adrian. Now, we know that Adrian is basically a lock to stay over Amy at this point. And so I've been saying, I actually think the votes are so there to keep Adrian over Amy that he actually might have a chance to stay over Will at this point, if there's enough push, especially by a player like Zach. But here's the problem. Here's why that hasn't happened yet. Zach is quite behind on information. For as good as his position is, he's just not active enough. And so he starts talking to Catherine. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, here we go. Zach's going to try to talk Catherine into keeping Adrian over Will. Like here's the push. Here's the push that I've been waiting for. Because if he starts doing this, if Vince starts doing this, they've got Keanu and Kelly, like they can really make this happen. And he starts saying like, yeah, so yeah, I'm just a little concerned. I don't want Adrian to go over Amy. Like, oh, okay, I guess that's a good place to start. He's like, because I know like the Will thing, but I'm worried that Amy's gonna stay over Adrian. Oh, Zach, you haven't heard? Everyone knows Adrian's staying over Amy, but he's concerned. He does not know this, and so he's like, so yeah, I don't know about that. And Catherine, who I also assumed must have some idea that Adrian's going to stay over Amy, goes, yeah, I think that Amy's staying against Adrian. And I'm like, what? How did the two people in the house that don't realize what's happening with the vote get into the same conversation? So they start having this conversation about like, they are now trying to very slowly and carefully discuss that, like, even though it's against the will of the house, we both kind of want Adrian to stay over Amy. But they're both really like scared to say it out loud, it seems. She's like, yeah, I don't know if it's best for me for Amy to stay, but I don't want to be on the wrong side of the vote. I don't want to be on the wrong side of the vote, says Catherine. And Zach's like, yeah, no, me too. I don't want to be on the wrong side of the vote. So I don't know. I would vote with the house. And for the record, this is why I think if Mickey was pushing Amy to stay over Adrian, it would work. This conversation is very awkward, very long pauses. And they also just like keep repeating themselves. It's like, yeah, but I mean, I don't know if it's best for me, but like I said, I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of the house. So, I mean, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. I wouldn't want to be, I mean, Amy's probably staying anyway. So, Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's kind of weird. I feel like there's like a bunch of people that want Amy to stay, and isn't that? I mean, that's a little concerning, I guess. But um, you know, but I wouldn't want to be in the wrong side of the vote. So, and they slowly warm up, but Jimmy eventually joins this conversation because it's the HOH room. And they start to like talk to Jimmy about, hey, Jimmy, what do you think? I mean, Amy's probably staying, right? And I don't know exactly what Jimmy's doing here, but I think he's doing is like the same thing he did last week, where he's just going to straight up lie to them and pretend that Amy does have the votes to stay on the off chance that he can convince them. So they start counting votes, and they're like, well, maybe do we maybe have the votes to take out Amy? And Zach starts counting votes on the memory wall. He's like, well, it would be me, maybe Catherine, and then maybe like Ava, and Jimmy goes, oh no, Ava's not going to vote Amy out over Adrian. And Catherine goes, what, really? Yeah. How do you know? She told me. Now, to be clear, this is not true. Ava is 1,000% voting Adrian to stay over Amy. And I also don't believe that she told Jimmy that she would do the opposite. I think Jimmy is just straight up lying, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what Jimmy's doing here. But he's like, yeah, she told me. She told me she would not vote Amy out over Adrian. So, and Catherine's like, wow, well, is that her opinion or somebody else's? It's like, whoa, where did the shyness go, Catherine? And so they keep counting votes, and they're like, man, yeah, with no Ava, and then like no Vince, like none of these people, like, yeah, it's just the votes aren't there. The votes aren't there for Adrian to stay. And Catherine says, man, this is really sketching me out though. Like, why aren't the votes there? And Jimmy says, well, listen, if you feel sketched, you go ahead and vote what's best for you. And she said, well, that's what I plan to do. And so Catherine is getting more and more like amped up about this as she starts like arguing with Jimmy. And Jimmy's like, hey, it's not me. I'm just letting you know. Zach ends up leaving. Jimmy keeps talking with Catherine about this. They're like counting votes, and he's like, yeah, I'm just counting 7 to 6 right now for Amy to stay. Ugh. And again, I'm reasonably certain that this is an outright lie to Catherine, because again, just earlier in the day, he was talking with Rachel about how they didn't have the votes. He's also like saying like, yeah, Vince is maybe a swing vote here, and he knows that Vince is voting Amy out. So the relationship between Jimmy and Catherine has started to deteriorate already. It feels like this was a tense conversation, and he is lying to her about where the votes are. And it's largely, I think, because she did not agree with what he wanted. He nominated Amy and Will, hoping that he could take out Adrian, but Catherine was one of the first people to say, I want Amy gone, and nothing Jimmy said could change her mind on that. And so, we talked in the beginning portion of this week about how Jimmy was kind of migrating from Morgan and Mickey to Catherine and Lauren. That migration has for sure paused at this point, and he has started going back to Mickey, Morgan, and Rachel. Now, whether Mickey and Morgan accept him with open arms is another question, but this whole budding Catherine relationship is definitely faltering, I would say. So Catherine goes and talks to Riley, and she's amped up. She's like, why is Amy staying? This is stupid. And she talks to Riley, who's laying in bed, as he is wont to do, and she's ranting to him about the vote. It's like, why would people keep Amy? There's so many. It doesn't make any sense. And Riley's like, you're stressing me out, Catherine. She's like, just to be clear, I only care about the game. And it's stupid that I care about this. Is such an artificial scenario, and people feel things that are not real in this scenario. But I am just so mad. I'm just so mad. And as she's talking, They're in the open bedroom, and Ashley starts walking by, notices that Catherine and Riley are having like an intense conversation, and it basically does something like this. If you're watching the video, like, oh, sorry, guys, and leaves. And this pisses Riley off. Oh, that. And then he says a word that I could not fully understand even when I tried to play it back, so I'm not going to repeat it. But he says, that right there is going to be the first one. That's the type of shit I'm talking about. I don't want you talking to me. Catherine's like, yeah. I hate that people think that our conversations are private. Like why is she acting like that? Like, we're just talking. You don't need to be like that. Like, just because I've gotten some compliments, like now all of a sudden, every time people think we're talking, like it's a private situation. And Riley's like, well, to be honest, their intentions are right. Like, obviously, I'm going to pick you over everyone else in this house. But, yeah, when it comes time, Catherine, these effers, they're going to piss me off enough where I'm going to just F everything up. Shit's going to start getting crazy. It's like, oh, yeah, I get it. Hey, if it's me and you get thrown up on that block, I want you to know I'd use the veto on you. I'd use it on you. Well, we'll see, I guess. No. I'd do whatever it takes to save you, Catherine, no matter what. She goes, okay, yeah. I mean, listen, I just take things one day at a time, kind of, because I just think it's beneficial to like not be spazzing out all the time, kind of. I'm not spazzing out. That's not what I'm saying. And then the feed's cut. So that was a weird conversation. I know you want me to bring up the belly button situation, but I'm not trying to make people lose their lunch today. Anyway, that was your Riley Catherine update for the day. Ava talks to Adrian, and she basically is letting Adrian know, because the thing that Adrian is doing is basically being like, hey, I want you to just tell me what the votes are. Like, I want you to tell me what you're going to do. If you are honest with me, I will respect it. People really want to know about the belly button. Listen, there are some things that shouldn't be reenacted. You can imagine what this is. No? There's a belly button, there's a Riley. What else would he do with his mouth? I don't know. Anyway. All right, I need to stop looking at the chat. So Ava is talking to Adrian, and he's asking her where she's going to vote, and he says, can you just let me know like where your vote is? And she says, well, obviously, if you're against Amy, I'm keeping you. What I will say is, I think you against Will, the votes aren't really there. I don't think that that you've got the votes, and so I will let you know. Like, I'm probably not gonna vote against the House to keep you. I probably am gonna vote to keep Will. Um, and he says, "Well, I mean, the thing is, I think that against Will, I would only need you and Catherine." And he's not wrong. I mean, he's close against Will. And he's trying to let her know, like, hey, it's not the House. Like, if I have your vote, I might be able to stay. And she says, really? I didn't know that. To be clear, Ava plans to keep Will regardless, and she's about to say so. The voting with the House thing is just an excuse. And Ava does then continue to explain, basically, like, I am probably still going to keep Will against you, but I'm definitely keeping you. I got you against Amy for sure. So she's honest. She's honest with him, and lets him know that. At this point, it really does seem like the votes will not be there for Adrian versus Will. I mentioned last night, there could be some momentum moving in that direction, but the momentum did not really land. And Ava is part of it. Zach and Catherine not even realizing that Adrian can stay against Amy is part of it. It's just it just hasn't quite come together. And Adrian, for as much as he was campaigning yesterday, was still not quite active enough to really gather the votes together for himself versus Will. So as of right now, Will is still safe in every scenario. Now, Keanu has a little bit of a bit to play here in the day. He talks to Riley about like what they're doing. Remember, the Unexpendables. And of course, Riley like hates Ashley and he hates Morgan because Catherine told him that Morgan wanted to get him on the block, and Ashley's the one who's making a big deal of him and Catherine, and so like he hates Ashley too, and he's going on about them, and this is of course music to Keanu's ears, and Keanu's talking about, hey, Jimmy's still like, people are still like, wow, why did Will go up on the block, and nobody knows that it was me. Nobody knows that I did it. So clearly I'm in Jimmy's ear. I convinced Jimmy to do that. I got him to do it, and nobody even knows that I did that. And so Keanu's feeling himself. But immediately after this, he has a conversation with Mickey, where he's of course like talking about like Rachel and everything, and Mickey's like, Keanu, you got to realize, like, you're still on a lot of people's radar. Keanu's like, well, I mean, my goal is to go after the person who's doing all of that. Mm-hmm. And this is not subtle. Mickey's like, just so you know, like, I don't think Rachel is the one doing that. Like, you need to realize Jimmy is the one trying to get you out. Like, you know this, right? And it's not even just one person. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I mean, obviously. This was part of Mickey and Morgan's plan when they were mad at Jimmy, was to make sure that Keanu understands that Jimmy is not on his side. But quite frankly, I don't think that this conversation will be enough. And I think that he will continue to be Keanu because, of course, that is what Keanu does. So Adrian talks to Morgan and basically makes a pitch to her. He says that, I'm against Keanu. Keep me around. I'll win comps. I'll go after Keanu. Again, his top selling point in the campaign. And he also tries to say, like, if I'm against Will, you should maybe try to keep me. And he says, like, I know I've know you've not really been with me on the vote, but I just want you to be honest. I hate liars. And she says, listen, that's true, but I'm genuinely willing to have like a conversation. And I will be honest with you about where my vote goes. And this is a good conversation between the two of them. Like I said, I think by the end of this conversation, it's possible that Adrian may move off of using Morgan as a pawn or to throw Morgan up on the block next to Keanu and Jimmy. And it is even more possible, as we will find out, that Morgan kind of comes around on the idea of Adrian. But that's getting ahead of herself just a little bit. She is really hearing what Adrian is saying. She's really starting to believe that maybe keeping him around would be great, which only further brings her back to the frustration she has with Jimmy. She's like, oh, I'm just so pissed that Jimmy did this to us, Adrian. And she says, I will be honest, I am going to have a really hard time voting Will out over you. But, you know, with next to Amy, maybe. And he also, by the way, asks her if she knows who has the third power. He heavily suspects it is Mickey. And he's wondering if Morgan knows who has it. She doesn't need to say any names because he already suspects. But if he got confirmation from Morgan that she knows who has it, that would heavily imply that maybe Mickey told her. Morgan denies knowing who has the power. And he says, okay. Like he does not believe a word of it. So keep that in mind as well. Morgan, after this conversation, goes to Zach, Ava, and Will, who are talking, and says, honestly, I just talked to Adrian, and like, who between Amy and Adrian can beat Keanu to take him out of the game? I'm kind of feeling like maybe we, I don't know, maybe we keep him. And Ava's like, you're preaching, bro. That's what I'm saying. And I'm sure Will is sitting there like, I too can help take out Keanu. But Will still should be good. So Morgan has been flipped. Morgan, I mean, she'd already been flipped and then flipped back by Mickey, but you know, she is now accepted. All right, well, let's lose Amy. And I imagine that Morgan is going to, at this point, probably, if it's Amy versus Adrian, vote to keep Adrian, probably give him a little bit of a promise there as well. Rachel talks to Amy. I sort of, again, like things are not looking good. Really got to win that blockbuster. And they talk a little bit about Vince. She says, I caught Vince talking with Lauren multiple times in a row. Like, this guy is everywhere. It's a problem. And she starts talking about, like, you know, what do you think, Amy? Like, if you were part of, like, let's say you were part of like a big group, and, you know, would you like ride that out for a little while, or would you try to break it up if it was like kind of a problem? He was like, you got to break it up. She's like, yeah, I think so. And it certainly seems to be heavily implied here that Rachel's really starting to consider, if she gets into power, going straight after Vince. Obviously, Keanu's still a problem, but I would imagine for Rachel, it's something like Keanu, Vince, maybe Lauren, maybe, like, who knows, right? Like, maybe Catherine, whatever. But Rachel's really starting to get on Vince's trail here. Rachel also talks to Ava. Now, this is a very small piece. So this was in the have not room. And that's when she was talking with Amy. And then Ava came in, and the three of them were talking for a little while. And then we just got a little snippet of this, but it's obviously very exciting for a lot of people because people love Ava. People generally love Rachel at this point, I would say. So I'm gonna give you this, but I'm gonna give it to you with the caveat of there's not a lot of extra context around this. The feeds came into the middle of a conversation that Rachel was having with Ava, where she was saying, essentially saying, I don't have anyone in the game. Presumably, like, she means once Amy leaves. And she says, and I love you. And so I would love for it to be the two of us, final two, ride or die. And Ava says, are you serious? She says, if you're up for it. And then they immediately get interrupted by Jimmy. And Ava doesn't even say an answer. Like, she doesn't even say yes. So theoretically there was a proposal. I mean, the thing is, like, it's possible that Rachel is like telling a story to Ava about somebody else that she thought was saying that had a. I don't think that's what happened, but like the context is so small that it could have been something like that. I do believe Rachel was making a genuine proposal here, especially because she said if you're up for it. But something to take note of. Perhaps, because again, it's like like she could have been saying like this is maybe what if Vince was saying this to Lauren, right? Like, but we'll keep track of it. We'll see. Obviously, it behooves Rachel to try to make a new ally with Amy leaving, and it's a good opportunity to as well. Like, obviously, you've seen how loyal I've been to my girl Amy. Like, if we can make some kind of secret deal, you'll be my new person. And this time we'll keep it more on the down low so that the two of us don't get any heat. Something like that would be a pretty good proposal, I would say. And Ava is, quite frankly, the exact right person to make that proposal to right now. Granted, I think Ava will continue to be loyal to the people she likes, but like getting an in with Ava is going to be huge, considering the position that Ava has right now. She's not been super influential, but she is very well insulated at the moment. So keep an eye on it. In addition to that, Rachel has that moment with Jimmy that I was talking about earlier, where, if you recall, I think in the episode that we just watched last night, Jimmy went off on Rachel about the shirt that he does not enjoy. You might say that he hates it. And she's gonna try it on. She's gonna put it on. She's gonna be like, "I'm putting the shirt on, Jimmy." And they have this like funny moment where he's like, she's trying it on, and then puts it down. He's like, "Oh no!" And he's like, "All right, Rachel, we need to get other opinions. The house needs to vote. If the house votes no on the shirt, it needs to be banished from the house." And so they have they have a whole thing. So again, Jimmy and Rachel, they're kind of back together. He has mended those fences. But I imagine that there's going to be some lasting damage still, at least a bit. So the night continues, and we have a couple of Kelly moments to talk about. Kelly lets Jimmy know that Ashley has been talking about targeting him. And this, at least temporarily, pisses Jimmy off. He's like, "What? If I had known this, I would have put Ashley up on the block." And he talks to Mickey and Morgan about it. He's like, "I can't believe Ashley. What are we doing with Ashley? She should be on the block. She needs to go home." And Mickey and Morgan are trying to like talk him down a bit because they want to work with Ashley. I think perhaps mistakenly, considering Ashley's stance on them. But it's a little bit of a thing, but they kind of calm him down on it. They end up talking to each other, Mickey and Morgan, about Ashley and how they do want to keep Ashley around. They think that she's good for their games. She's not. Ashley's running around talking about Morgan constantly. But they think that Ashley is good for their games and they would like to protect Ashley. But they do recognize that it may come to a point where she does too much and they won't be able to protect her anymore. So that's going on. But then Kelly has another little foray in the night, which is that the have-nots are finally coming off of slop. And it's a big deal. Big deal. They're having a big celebration, and they're gonna have a big meal, and people are gonna be like waiting on them, and they're all celebrating. Well, I should say most of them are celebrating. There are a couple of people that are not. So they've perhaps gone to bed. Kelly, she likes her early bedtime, and she likes to get up early in the morning. And so Kelly is in bed. Adrian and Will also in bed. But they're all celebrating, having a nice meal. having a good time, like jumping around, you know, like a big celebration. This is kind of like Amy's last hurrah in the house, basically. Everyone kind of knows. She kind of knows. So they're kind of celebrating Amy as well because she was a have-not. She was having a hard time as a have-not. It's like, this is like one of the best days of my life is I'm going to eat food again. And they're all celebrating. They're having a good time. And then Kelly walks up in her pajamas. Like, oh no, we woke up Kelly. She's like, yeah, guys. If you just the screaming is disrespectful. You know, you can have a good time, but the screaming is disrespectful. So, and it's not just me. It's not about me. I'm fine, but Will and Adrian are trying to sleep, and you know they're going to be competing tomorrow. So that's all I'm saying is just, you know, try to be a little more respectful. Okay, I love you guys. Thanks. Oof. Oh, big vibe killer. Big vibe killer. It's like shifts in an instant. Kelly walks away and the vibe is just so low. It's like, oh, that was weird. Okay. I mean, should we feel bad or are we mad? And they end up choosing mad. They end up choosing mad. Ava's like, excuse me, like what do you mean? Like Adrian, we're all competing tomorrow. Like, chill. I think the mistake here that Kelly makes, I think if Kelly comes out and she's like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm so sorry. Can you just be like, just be a little quieter? You know, I'm trying to sleep." That's still a bit of a vibe killer. Like, listen, in the Big Brother house, you have to kind of accept that you're not getting good sleep. But the fact that she tried to be like, "It's not about me. It's about Adrian and Will." I think that's where she really lost them. And also when you say it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful. Like that's also like chill. Chill. Um so basically after a week of really getting off of a lot of people's radars for Kelly, like she really had a great week compared to her first week, which is obviously like that's almost impossible not to be the case. But she was really starting to like not be looked at as much. And in the course of one night, she pisses Jimmy off, who now believes that she was lying about Ashley, which we'll talk about very soon, and then pisses off the whole house with her like you're being disrespectful thing. And so uh, Kelly needs to, unfortunately for her, watch out for being nominated again because that's very likely going to happen. So, Mickey and Ashley are going to talk because Mickey was talking to Morgan. They were talking about like who goes pre-jury. This is heading into the late night portion of the night. And of course, Mickey's going over that like who goes pre-jury, who are we evicting? Zach is on her list. She talks to Ashley, and Ashley is hearing Mickey's list, and she says, I think we should keep Zach until jury." And Mickey's like, "I don't think so." And Ash says, "No, I think Zach is good for our games. I think that we should keep him around because it would be weird if a player had a correct read on who should leave. It's not like Zach doesn't hate Ashley's guts, and she just doesn't realize it. And so, of course, she would be sticking up for her in the same way that Mickey and Morgan would be sticking up for Ashley when she's been talking about them. It's it's all fine." Ashley makes a case that Vince should be targeted over Zach, that Vince is the problem. She starts to explain some of the problems that she has with Vince, that Vince is going around. He has conversations with everyone. He's too tight with Keanu. He's like talking with Lauren. She's heard like Vince is really more of a problem than Zach. And Mickey starts to kind of come around to this, at least when talking to Ashley. She's like, you make a good point. Like, maybe we should be targeting Vince. And so, like I said, the Vince situation is kind of moving along here a little bit. I don't think it's enough for Morgan to target Vince. I don't think that Mickey's going to be doing any of this targeting, but something to, again, keep an eye on. Jimmy then talks to Ashley and lets her know about what Kelly said about her targeting him. And Ashley's like, wow, no, I didn't say that at all. I can't believe Kelly would make that up. And he's like, yeah, I don't believe Kelly. And he actually goes on to propose an alliance to Ashley. And this is basically the Mickey Morgan proposed alliance that they made specifically to exclude Jimmy from, only with Jimmy doing the proposing of making the alliance, and he's in it now. So that's what he's proposing. And it's like, a bunch of them, like Will, Ashley, Mickey Morgan, him, and then like some extras. Friends of the alliance would be like Rachel and Zach and Vince, stuff like that. And so she's like, yeah, that makes sense. So I know this is like, oh man, another alliance, but it is basically the same alliance as the one we've been talking about. So we'll see if it ends up actually coming together at all. Basically just Jimmy kind of invited himself to the party is kind of what happened. Jimmy talks to Vince about this alliance, and Vince is like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'm down for that. I agree with everything that you're saying, Jimmy. And Jimmy confirms to Vince that he does not believe what Kelly said. He thinks that Kelly's trying to play a Keanu game, and he's pissed about it. And basically this idea of the alliance that Jimmy's coming up with is to just keep Ashley and Will sort of mollified. Like, hey, if they think they're in an alliance with us, then hopefully on the off chance that either of them are looking to maybe take some kind of shot, we'll discourage them from doing that by being a part of this new alliance. So that is the day. That about ends our day yesterday. We come into today, which will be day 17, the day of the eviction, in a spot where, again, Adrian should, if they pushed hard enough, have the votes against Will, but they have not found that confidence, I guess I would say. So right now, as of right now, everything is in fact the same. Adrian will stay against Amy. Will stay against both Amy and Adrian. Amy will leave against either one. If Amy wins the blockbuster, then Adrian goes home. If Adrian wins the blockbuster, if Amy doesn't win the blockbuster, Amy goes home. That is basically where things stand. But keep your ear to the ground. It is not impossible that Adrian makes the last minute push to try to stay over Will in the event that Amy wins that blockbuster. Amy basically dead in the water if she doesn't win. Very difficult for her to crawl out of the hole that she is in at the moment when it comes to the votes. So on top of that, a lot of people gunning for HOH, including Keanu and the Unexpendables. Everyone, as Chelsea pointed out last night, everyone's talking about the wall comp. Oh, the wall comp. When's the wall comp going to come? Got to have the wall comp because we're going to win the wall comp for sure. Yeah, Riley, you're going to win the wall comp for sure. Yeah, Morgan, you're going to win the wall comp for sure. Meanwhile, Adrian's sitting in the corner. They don't know that I have wall comp Wednesdays. They're all waiting for the wall comp. Morgan even said, hey, I might need to throw the next HOH. I might need to throw HOH on Thursday because I think the wall comp might be the following week. And I want to make sure I play in the wall comp because I'm definitely going to win the wall comp. And it's like, well, who cares if you win the wall comp if you have to throw a different competition in order to get to it? Sorry, that was... I'm trying to be like Catherine. I'm not trying to spaz out all the time. That's just as she said. Anyway, That's what we've got. That's what we've got going into the day today. And stay tuned. Stay tuned. I will be live tonight on Twitch and YouTube watching the eviction episode, giving you real-time analysis on what is likely going to happen based on each blockbuster outcome, as well as what's going on here in the eviction. And then, of course, we'll be back live here on RHAP to talk through everything that we see in the episode. And I'll, of course, be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. Actually, it's not 11 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow, later than usual. Remember, tomorrow it's going to be 12:15 p.m. Eastern. That's a lot of different numbers and letters, but that is the case because we will be speaking to the evicted player. And that is likely going to be Adrian or Amy, more likely Amy at this point. And then we will have the update after the fact. So check all of that out. And you can also check out my book, Behind the Mirror. See, it's behind my face is behind the book. That's, yeah, look at that. It's like, ooh, an extra meaning to the title. You can check it out at taranarmstrong.com if you want to pre-order the book. If you also, by the way, if you like The Genius, I just posted, I started a Patreon in the off season because I was doing videos on The Devil's Plan, where I like watch the episode and I pause and I analyze. Had to do it on Patreon. YouTube won't let me do it because I'm showing the episode. But if you like The Genius, I'm also in the middle of a Genius watch from South Korea over on my Patreon if you want to check that out as well. So that's about it. That's what I got for you. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. Hopefully you enjoyed our little story time, and I will see all of you next time.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.